This is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
We're going Kiss tonight, aren't we, on a Wednesday here? March 11th. All right. A little trivia question for you. And I looked this up before I came on. Don't think I'm some sort of encyclopedia of rock knowledge, but what U.S. band has had more gold albums than any U.S. rock band in history? I know. It's an easy answer because I'm asking it, given that Kiss is playing. But Kiss, you wouldn't see Kiss as the most prolific band in U.S. history, but here we are. I mean, they've had plenty of hits, but I didn't know that they had 30 gold albums. Goodness gracious. I saw them in 2003. Honest, and I'll get to the serious stuff, I swear. I'll tell this 15-second story. I was dating a girl. She worked for a company that had a box at Madison Square Garden. I was getting bored with the relationship, but I knew that she was taking me to a Kiss concert, so I let it go for another couple of weeks before I could actually see it. And then the breakup didn't happen after the concert, like outside in the, on 33rd Street or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. I saw Kiss. I could say I saw Kiss, and I endured a boring relationship for a couple of weeks in 2003 to do it. There you go. I'm a horrible person. All right, that's it. I'm sorry. You thought I was a good guy. It was a different me, I swear. I have a wife. I got 2 kids, 2 dogs, 5 fish, living in the suburbs. Coach 1, 2, 3 of my kids' teams. All right. I've changed. But to see Kiss, I had to do what I had to do. Hey, let's hear from Gene Simmons, shall we? As our first cut of the night. Here he is in cut 20, Kevin. Talking about how celebrities like Ben Stiller and Mark Ruffalo should just shut the you-know-what up. This is cut 20. Go.
I know right now Ben Stiller is calling out the president, saying he doesn't want him to use his movie clips for war propaganda. I mean, it sounds like a lot of people are kind of, criticizing Trump, like Hollywood right now, over this war thing. Is that fair?
Yeah, because everybody in the world should listen to what actors and comedians say, because they're so qualified. Basically, shut the up. Do your art and shut up. Nobody's interested in your opinions. That includes me. Who I vote for, who I like. Who the do you think you are? People in America work hard for their living, and they don't want to be lectured to by people who live in mansions and drive Rolls Royces. It's time for everybody in the entertainment industry to shut their pie hole and just do your art. Nobody cares what you think. I don't.
Okay.
What will Mark Ruffalo, however he pronounces his
Mark
name.
Ruffalo, yeah.
Well, good. Ruffalo, Buffalo. What does Mark think about politics? I don't care.
So you think celebrities should stay out of the politic talk?
Well, we both agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
Or go to Kylie Jenner and ask her what she thinks of the war so far.
All right. The great Gene Simmons. 76 years old, obviously still has his fastball, clearly. Oh, boy. All right. Anyway, we'll be playing Kiss, going at it every break, in and out throughout the night. Beth is my favorite song. I know it's kind of a wimpy, kind of slow song, but hey, Beth is not a name that anybody names their kids anymore, by the way. Beth is gone. My wife's name is Jean. There are no Jeans in my kids' classes. There's no Joes in my kids' classes. Joe is retired. I mean, you would think after Biden, that's probably a good idea, but we're talking, these are 10-year-olds. We're talking about 12-year-olds. Every kid's name, at least girls, starts with an A and ends with an A. That I've learned. There's Avas, there's Arianas, there's Alexandras. A lot of A names. Okay, we're going off on major tangents here. Let's go to what happened over the weekend, obviously, New York City, Zohran Mamdani, with the worst response ever to a terror attack that you could possibly imagine, going off about Islamophobia and anti-Muslim sentiment after two literal Muslims threw bombs, IEDs, right out of the Boston Bombers playbook, basically, during their confrontation with police in Watertown before one of them was shot and killed. And he's talking about how this was a vile protest, and you could agree or disagree with the protest. It was like basically stop the takeover of Islamists in New York City. I'm paraphrasing what the name of it was, but the bottom line is that Mamdani goes to the mic and starts talking about anti-Muslim bigotry before, several minutes in gets to the whole, hey, these guys built bombs and were looking to kill people with them because they disagreed with the protest. Like they buried the lead is the old saying. Buried it 12 feet under, dug it up and buried it again is what Mamdani did. Anyway, here's CNN. Their coverage has been just outstanding. And this is opposite day. I'm being completely sarcastic. Here's Abby Phillip, who thinks she is the next coming of Walter Cronkite meets Barbara Walters. This person really takes herself way, way, way too seriously. And here's Abby last night reporting that actually these bombs that were built by ISIS sympathizers actually were targeting Zohran Mamdani. No, they weren't. But hey, here's CNN. Cut 24. Go.
Two Republicans say Muslims don't belong here after an attempted terror attack against New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, says nothing really to condemn those comments. Another special guest is going to be with us at the table when we come.
Oh, screw you. They were targeting Mamdani? He wasn't even home at the time. Oh, ISIS is now anti-Mamdani? Really? Seems to be a big fan of theirs. The things that he said before October 7th, calling Israel an apartheid state, does that sound like somebody that ISIS would want to target? Mamdani, the guy who said that he would arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu the minute he sets foot in New York? They were targeting him, Abby? Of course not. So, of course, she goes on to X and she apologizes, says she misspoke, didn't catch it in time. In other words, this was loaded into a teleprompter for her, this being the script that she just read. And trust me, I'm on national television. I hosted shows this past weekend for 3 hours each night, Saturday and Sunday, big weekend show, co-hosted. You preview your script before you read it in front of, well, I guess in CNN's case, friends and relatives, but in Fox's case, 3, 4, 5 million people. You might want to look at what may have been written, or you write it yourself. A lot of good anchors will write their scripts themselves, or at least sit down with producers and craft it together. There's a lot to do as an anchor. There's a lot to do as a producer. You say, well, why can't you just do it all on your own anyway? Well, there are different moving parts to that, so it's always good to collaborate on these things. But to not preview it at all, which Abby Phillip clearly didn't do there, and saying that these terrorists were targeting Zohran Mamdani, she just sat down and decided, hey, whatever they wrote for me, I'm going to read. It's literally Ron Burgundy. If you saw Anchorman, where they put a question mark in the teleprompter, and he says, I'm Ron Burgundy? And then the executive producer says, damn it, who put a question mark in the teleprompter? If you put it in there, Burgundy will read it. That's Abby Phillip. She's Ron Burgundy. And oh boy, she's just a victim because her producers wrote something for her that she didn't preview. I'm sorry I'm getting in the weeds here, but you preview everything before you read it if you didn't write it yourself in a teleprompter. And then from there, Anna Navarro goes on and repeats the same thing because she's an idiot. Gets paid by 2 networks. That kills me that she has contracts that are probably pretty lucrative from ABC and CNN. And then she repeats what Abby Phillip said, except this wasn't written for her because when you're giving analysis like I do on Fox, nothing's written for you. You're just sharing your thoughts on things. Maybe prepare in terms of what you're going to say. Like, hey, you get a topic beforehand, and then you say, all right, write down some bullet points. This is what I do anyway. Like top line, boom. What do I think about this? Do some research, add some of that in there, and then but you have to go off the top of your head if you're giving commentary. There's no teleprompter, obviously. But anyway, there's a host on this radio station that once accused me of that, said that I'm only good on Fox News because I'm good at what is written for me. Good riddance to that guy. Run for mayor again, why don't you? Anyway, here is Cut 29, and here is Abby Phillip lecturing. This is a flashback. She sits down with Joy Reid because serious journalists do that. They go to fired MSNBC hosts who are even too crazy for that network. And here she is giving a lecture on how she is the fact checker, truth teller that really keeps her guests in line because she's a real journalist. Cut 29, go.
Conservatives are living in a completely different information world than liberals. And breaking that down needs to be done. Yeah. Because when you don't ever even hear the facts, it's hard to even know that you're wrong. And that happens a lot. I think that one time that person brings up something that is debunked and false, and I debunk it at the table, might be the very first time that someone out there has heard an alternative point of view.
Oh, yeah. Abby, great job. A, who goes to Joy friggin' Reid to talk about journalism, and B, you're not a journalist. You're an activist, just like almost everybody else over at CNN, the Craptastic News Network. That is my new acronym for CNN. Tried it out on Hannity last night. People seem to like it. Anyway, speaking of Hannity, here he is with Stephen A. Smith talking about, hey, name 3 people that you would vote for president off the top of your head, and then who would you ultimately decide on between those 3? The answer coming from a guy who says he's a Democrat is very interesting. Cut 4, go.
Names of 3 people in your head right now that you'd vote for president.
You won't like it. You won't like it.
I don't care.
I'd vote for Wes Moore, governor of Maryland. I'd vote for Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania. I'd vote for Marco Rubio.
Okay. Talk about, what is it about Marco?
He's an adult in the room.
You vote for Marco over the Democrat?
Yes.
Over Newsom?
Yes.
Over Kamala?
Yes. I'd vote for Marco Rubio over anybody that's out there right now other than Wes Moore or Josh Shapiro.
Now, here's the funny thing. Stephen A. Smith may run for president, which, again, you're the highest paid guy at ESPN. I don't know if you want to walk away from that, but fine. How many yachts can you water ski behind, Gordo? How much is enough? All right. So maybe he has enough to take a year off and run for president. Let's say he becomes the nominee, which you say, Joe, that's not going to happen. Well, given the competition, is that really far-fetched? Stephen A. Smith is excellent at making an argument and is entertaining in doing so. And in a soundbite world that we live in, why wouldn't he get the nomination? Now, the problem is he's far too to the center. He sounds too much like a Republican. For Democrats, particularly in primaries, because the far left tends to come out more in primaries than they do during a general election, or at least they outweigh the centrists, so to speak, if there's any left in the Democratic Party. But let's say he did get the nomination, and Marco, for whatever reason, is the nominee for the Republican Party. And like, I'll go down this road real quick with you guys. I think there's an outside chance. I don't know anything. Trust me. I've had one conversation with J.D. Vance in my life, so don't think this is coming from any sort of inside track. Okay, and I've only had one conversation in my life with Marco Rubio. All of that said, in fact, it was on this radio station, now that I think about it, WABC in New York. Anyway, the point is that I could see JD with Usha being pregnant with their 4th child, and they already have very young children. JD Vance saying, I'm 41 years old, I got plenty of runway. Like literally like 40 years of runway. When you look at who our last 2 presidents have been, right? Biden and Trump, one was north of 80, one slightly south of 80. But yeah, I mean, in your 70s, run for president, that's suddenly not a big problem anymore as it was with Reagan and even with McCain for that matter. All that said, JD could say, I want to be there to raise my kids. If I take 8 years off from doing that, then I'm going to turn around and they're going to be out of the house. I'll be in college. I'll be an empty nester. It's not that far-fetched as somebody who has 2 kids that, once you have them, especially at a young age, to leave them for long periods of time is a very difficult thing to do. I went to Boise, Idaho last week for 3 days and I was sick. I got to admit it. I must have sent more pictures and more texts about the most inane things because I didn't have them there to share them with. Boise, of all places. Got to see the Blue Field, which was kind of awesome. Boise State University. The point is, I can see JD saying that, and then Marco Rubio is your nominee. I mean, why even bother running against him if you're a Republican outside of the MAGAverse, particularly? We saw what happened to Ron DeSantis, who's basically MAGA the way he governs. And I think he'd be a great president as well. And Nikki Haley, right? They ran against him. Those are 2 solid candidates, and they never had a shot. Not even close. And if Marco gets Trump's endorsement, then Marco Rubio is your nominee. And then he will wax anybody Democrats put up against him. But it would be funny if it was Stephen A. Smith versus Marco Rubio, because there's your campaign ad. Literally Stephen A. Smith saying that he would vote for Marco Rubio if he was the nominee. But he did couch it with, of those who are out there right now. That doesn't include Stephen A. Smith because he hasn't declared. But yeah, I mean, when your competition's Gavin Newsom, who will not be the nominee, I don't care if Stephen A. Smith runs or not. I have a column out today, WashingtonExaminer.com, outlining why he will not be president. But basically, we're already going through Newsom fatigue. Enough of this guy already. And the more he speaks, again, I'll use this analogy. I came up with it myself, I swear. He's like the avocado presidential candidate. Avocados, the more you have, the less you want it. The more we get of Gavin Newsom, the less you want him. Because he's just simply as phony as a $3 bill. He's a pathological narcissist. His record in California is profoundly horrific. And he's just not a real person. And he's trying to portray himself as a guy who grew up poor and dumb. And he's just a regular guy, just like you and me. And that's just not going to fly. He's got a real Mitt Romney problem, I guess is the way what I'm trying to say. And we all know what happened with Romney. But Romney at least got the nomination. I don't even think Newsom does. But then again, I don't know who else would, given the current crop. Kamala? Buttigieg? AOC? It's a joke. Anyway, we kiss this segment goodbye. Get it? And we'll be back with more of the Joe Concha Show. It's called Concha at Night in just a moment. Give me a kiss.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honors the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like U.S. Army Specialist Andy Keith Kingsley. Andy was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. He received various awards and decorations, including a Purple Heart. While deployed, Andy was catastrophically injured in combat. Andy and his family received a mortgage-free smart home from Tunnel to Towers. But many more heroes, like Andy, need your support. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So every night, I think, just like we did with Jasmine Crockett, and she's now been eliminated from Senate contention in Texas, James Tallarico, we're going to play a clip from him every night. He is the phony minister being portrayed as a moderate, but moderates just don't say things like this, do they? Cut number 21, go.
Christ is the immigrant, deported without due process.
Oh,
Christ is the senior, deprived of their Social Security benefits.
Oh, my goodness.
Christ is the protester, kidnapped in an unmarked vehicle by plainclothes officers.
No. He really said that, didn't he? Oh, man. This person's a preacher? Christ was denied senior benefits? He died at what, 33 years old? Oh, my hair hurts. Anyway, play more Kiss, get my mood back. We'll be back with more in just a moment, I swear.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Not Kiss. That's certainly for sure. Ah, Beth. Yes, my favorite Kiss song. Underrated as far as love songs go. And when you consider the way that Kiss used to dress, and Gene Simmons literally was nicknamed the Demon, for them to belt this out, I don't know. It's kind of nice. Get a little tear in my eye. All right, let's fade before I lose it. Thank you, Kevin. Anyway, getting back to what sucks, it's late night comedy. And I'm putting the comedy part in scare quotes. You can't see it, but I'm doing it. And Jimmy Kimmel is, I go back and forth. Who sucks more, Colbert or Kimmel? And I think I've come down on Kimmel because he's so insufferable. Not that Colbert isn't, but I don't know. It's a tie. Who am I kidding? Photo finish for the suckiest suck that ever sucked in late night. This is Kimmel. Again, I'm going to do a little compare and contrast to you between Kimmel and then what we used to hear on Carson. And even Letterman in his NBC days, Leno, Conan, that was good stuff. I'd take Chevy Chase at this point over the current crop. But here's Kimmel, and this is what qualifies as late night comedy these days. You get to sit in a studio and listen to Jimmy Kimmel go on about politics, sounding like some weird combination of Rachel Maddow and Keith Olbermann if you combine their DNA. This is cut number 8. Go.
There's that little matter of those allegations in the Trump-Epstein files. And so to protect himself from losing the Senate and the House and probably getting impeached, he wants to change the rules of voting to make it more difficult for everyone, especially women, to vote. If this passes, you won't even be able to mail your ballots. And unless you're in the military, sick, disabled, or overseas, you will have to stand in a line to vote, even though he himself votes by mail.
That's the joke. Get it? You got it. I mean, seriously? ABC gave this guy a contract extension? Should have put him out to pasture like Colbert's going to be in May. Now let's keep him around for a while. We love a distant third place. Greg Gutfeld is destroying both of them, by the way. He doubles Kimmel's audience, triples it on some nights. And believe me, as somebody who works at Fox, I can tell you that Gutfeld has 1/20th the resources, and I'm being generous with that, of a Jimmy Kimmel or a Stephen Colbert in terms of writers, in terms of stagehands, in terms of everything. And Gutfeld still doubles and triples them on a nightly basis. And it tells you because Greg's actually A, funny, and B, doesn't talk down to his audience the way Kimmel does. Anyway, here's Rodney Dangerfield. This is when we actually used to laugh at 11:30 at night. Rodney with Johnny Carson. And Rodney, you want to talk about stand-up comedians, top 5 all time. Rodney Dangerfield absolutely is on that list. Cut number 11, go.
Now, I'm a bad drinker, Johnny. I mean, when I drink, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. The next day, I usually wake up in some strange place with a kid with an accent playing with my feet.
Johnny's losing at this point. Head on the desk and losing it.
What happened to you, too?
Yeah. Sure. You give a kid a couple of pesos.
No, but drinking is bad, Johnny. It's bad for your health. You know, that's what's important, your health. Oh, yeah, I'm still heavy. I can't lose any weight. Forget it. I got a big appetite. Are you kidding?
Like to eat, huh?
Well, when I eat at McDonald's, I stand outside and watch the sign change. I mean, you got to exercise. I don't exercise.
You got to keep
too old exercise.
Oh, come on.
Kid, if you see me jogging, it means the laxative is working.
Johnny,
the other day I took a laxative, started to work in a bank. And banks have no men's rooms, you know. Only for the employees. If you work there, you can use the men's room. Yeah, I had to go so bad I applied for a job. Now you get older, you start using laxative.
That's true.
And I'm getting old. You kid, in my backyard, I got a kidney-shaped pool with a stone in it. I mean, old.
That's just genius. When was the last time you heard anything resembling that on Kimmel or Colbert, Seth Meyers? Oh, what a weenie he is. Remember he had Biden on? And you could tell Biden was reading from some cards off stage because he wouldn't look at Seth. He was looking at something, and the answers were just too perfect. Like, in other words, like the punchlines. You're like, Biden, no way he came up with this. Right? And then they went out for ice cream afterwards, like at some store in 30 Rock, yet it's like February and it's like snowing out. And Biden's gibbering on about something and jabbering on, I should say. Jabbering. And Myers is just licking his ice cream, just looking at him like he's listening to Shakespeare. I mean, so that's what late night used to be. And, you know, there's a guy that used to be on Saturday Night Live that is somebody who's kind of bucking the whole trend at this point. In other words, he doesn't care what anybody thinks of him. And God bless Adam Sandler, because Sandler at least still puts Rob Schneider in his movies, despite the fact that he's obviously a Trump fan. He's a Republican. Rob Schneider says he can't get cast anywhere else. And this is an excellent comedian. But he's been blacklisted outside of any Adam Sandler films. Happy Gilmore 2 had Rob in it, for instance. And here he is going off on the aforementioned Kimmel and why Kimmel sounds the way he does when, if you remember the Man Show with Adam Carolla, well, this was somebody who wasn't political at all, but then something changed in his life. And this is Rob's theory. Rob Schneider's Cut 12. Go.
Why do you think that the Trump administration is so vilified by the Kimmels, the Colberts, the network news? Why do they hate him so much?
I think it's liberal women that have lost their minds are controlling these men, and these guys have no more balls.
Oh, I thought you said they changed. You were going to change. So
Kimmel has no balls. Kimmel is ballless. He's been deballed by his wife. His wife is the head writer of the show. She used to be an assistant writer. Now she's the writer. And I think that's completely ruined him. I do. I mean, I'm sorry, Jimmy, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right.
No, he's right. That's exactly right. He's ballless. You know, the old line in The Dark Knight by the Joker. What happened? Somebody cut your balls off? I mean, it's true. I mean, that's what happened, I guess. Mrs. Kimmel is the head writer. And when Jimmy does his monologues, he's not riffing, of course. He is reading. And that stuff's written for him. He agrees with every word, but it's just sad. It's sad what late night has become. What else can I say about that? Anyway, J.B. Pritzker, who should be in late night, he could play like another version of like Jackie Gleason, perhaps. This is when he's asked on Capitol Hill. Now, remember, Pritzker put out a tweet saying that every boy should use the girls' room and every girl should use the boys' room in order to stick it to Trump, because Trump is against transgender, like, you know, gender-neutral bathrooms, whatever you call them, right? And this is him on Capitol Hill. Brandon Gill, by the way, who's an excellent congressman, especially in these situations, asked Pritzker about this, and the line of questioning is just perfect. Cut number 25, go.
He tweeted that as a protest against President Trump, everyone should use the other gender's bathroom today. Have you ever used the women's restroom?
Not that I can recall ever, sir.
You wanted everybody else to do it, but you didn't?
Precisely. Put your money where your mouth is. And a lot of food goes in there, that's for sure. Pritzker, another one who wants to run for president. He's a billionaire white guy. And if you think that you could run as a presidential candidate with California's record and your Newsom, that's one thing. You want to run on the Illinois record? Oh, that's another thing altogether. Pritzker is like, you take away the Zoolander problem, as Katie Kirk put it with Gavin Newsom. You know, you take away the looks, and that's basically Pritzker. He's Newsom, just same kind of state in terms of the way he runs it into the ground. He's going to run for president, and he will be out before 2028. He won't even get to the year you're supposed to be running in. That I do know. Meanwhile, this really bothers me that when you watch CNN, outside of Abby Phillip, who we talked about earlier, Pete Hegseth is being attacked again. And look, you want to talk about MVPs of the Trump administration? I've talked about Scott Bessent from Treasury. I've talked about Marco Rubio, of course. But Pete Hegseth is right up there in terms of the way that he has executed what we've done militarily as far as Operation Midnight Hammer and taking out Iran's nuclear capabilities, at least severely damaging them at Fordo. And then Venezuela, that was as complex and as dangerous a mission as the Osama bin Laden raid in Pakistan back in 2011. And we were able to go into a military compound, heavily guarded, suffer no casualties, and snatch and grab Nicolas Maduro, the illegitimate president of Venezuela, and read him his rights before taking him out of there and suffering no damage. One helicopter was hit, but it was able to fly out of there. So, yeah, I would think the Secretary of War deserves credit for that, and obviously what we're seeing in Iran. And again, we're only at day, 10, 11? Of this operation, and they don't have anything left, it feels like, Iran. They can't fire any missiles. They're basically out of them, or at least the ability to fire them. They can't manufacture them. They can't even lay down mines in the Strait of Hormuz. And if we could get tankers going through there again and ships, cargo ships, then wow, that's a huge, huge development. And obviously, Iran just has no ability to fight back. We don't even know who's leading them right now. You say, well, the son of the Ayatollah. Well, is he? Haven't heard from him. He supposedly was injured during the initial strikes that took out his dad. So, again, as far as being way, way ahead of schedule, that is in part in tribute to Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, for executing time and again on the most complex military exercises, in this case, a war that we've seen in decades. So he deserves all the credit in the world. But at CNN, no, Pete Hegseth is just a former Fox News host that was chosen to this role, and he gets pushed back immediately, and it's beautiful to hear. Cut number 27, go.
Lloyd Austin was former Commander General of CENTCOM, four-star general, Pete Hegseth, Fox News host.
Yes, very different resumes.
Very different resumes.
Decorated military.
Very different resumes.
Decorated
there is no one.
Can you not acknowledge that the man served?
The man served. Yes, the man served. He
highly decorated.
Not in combat.
Not in combat.
Hegseth?
He wasn't in combat.
Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, the man served our country.
And he, I think, had a Bronze Star for.
Exactly. All right, we could cut
I want to get back to is that.
Oh, he's just a Fox News host. Oh, and he's a decorated military veteran. Oh, but he never actually served in a war. Oh, right, except in Iraq and Afghanistan. Earned a Bronze Star. Was in harm's way. And these people back in their comfy studio in New York do your homework. I cannot get over the fact, as somebody who goes on national television multiple times a day and does this radio show, how you go on the air and you don't prepare. You just, all right, I'm going to show up and throw up. Like that Bakari Sellers that we just heard there. Yeah, but he never served. You know, he never actually was in war. No, that's Tim Walz you're thinking of, you moron. I just can't believe. And then he'll be back on again tonight. He probably makes more than I do. All right, it's getting personal. Anyway, let's listen to, this is ABC News. It really is. The View falls under the ABC News umbrella. So Ted Koppel, if he was dead, would be turning over in his grave right now. Anyway, here's Whoopi Goldberg. You know, she's got it all figured out. This is cut number 23. Go.
It's just nutty as hell. Mm-hmm. It's nutty as hell. Yeah. And you're right. Every day is something new. And it's, I was thinking about it yesterday because I thought, well, okay, why haven't we been talking about Savannah Guthrie and what's going on there? Yes. Why have we not been talking about the Epstein files? Because that's still there. Yeah. This is meant to get us so worked up that we are unable to see anything else.
Again, I don't know what's worse, that Whoopi Goldberg actually said that on national television, or the fact that people applauded her sentiment that we went to war with Iran to distract the American people from Nancy Guthrie in that investigation? What the actual F? Nancy Guthrie is why we went to war? You absolutely, And again, she gets paid 7 figures for this analysis. Whoopi. It's to distract from Nancy Guthrie and the Epstein files. Enough already. And again, I guess we're playing her on this show, so maybe mission accomplished in this case. Anyway, we still have a government shutdown going. If you've tried to fly in the last couple of days, I saw one photo of a line that was so long at the airport in New Orleans that it extended out to the parking lot because TSA employees aren't being paid. I fly out next week. Yay. That'll be fun. I got clear. I wonder if that kind of exempts me from this whole waiting thing. Like, I've done clear. Have you ever done clear? Clear's awesome. It's like $20 a month. And if you fly a lot, it's definitely worth it. If you don't, then obviously not. But it takes you to the front of every line, like ahead of TSA pre-check, ahead of obviously the regular line, and you go right up to security. So maybe I'll kind of avoid that. I'm totally thinking to myself as usual again. But anyway, the point is, I have a point here, I swear, that the government shutdown, to not have TSA during a war, obviously Homeland Security not being funded during a war, But Democrats, boy, they really, really want to win those midterms, and they see this as a way to do it. Anyway, here's Scott Jennings, the sane voice on CNN, talking to us about why this is a big, big problem. This is cut number 6. Go.
But does anyone here believe that we should keep the Department of Homeland Security, that's the name of it, indefinitely shut down to try to force ICE policy changes on an agency that's already funded until 2029, when you acknowledge there are sleeper cells, when we all see radical Islamic terrorists throwing IEDs in New York City, when we saw a radical Muslim terrorist shoot up a bar in Austin, when we had tornadoes in Oklahoma and Michigan this weekend, when we have TSA lines of 5 hours in airports, we have all these things going on. Is it even remotely reasonable?
What I believe.
And everybody yells at him. No, it's not reasonable. Actually, it is. I mean, you think about also tornadoes that have been hitting Texas, Kansas, to not have the government running. And I don't think government shutdowns are as bad as they're always portrayed to be. But they're happening so often now that you could ask, 79.4% of the American people, yes or no, are we in a government shutdown? And they wouldn't know the correct answer because you're still getting your garbage picked up. Oh, I hear Kiss. So this will be our tease to what James Carville had to say about why you should vote Democrat. It has to do with these things called the Epstein files. Retired already, but don't retire Beth, ever. One of the great songs of all time. And you only get this on Concha at Night. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Okay.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Yes! I know this is WABC in New York, but this is Detroit Rock City. This came out in 1977. I'll have to look that up. I'm probably totally wrong about that considering I was barely alive. But yeah, Kiss is our band of the night. I hope you're enjoying this little side segment to our usual show. Anyway, we only have time for one cut here, Kevin. So I'm going to go with cut 1, actually, here. Throw you a little curveball. This is a message from Sylvester Stallone. Another Rambo is coming. Really? Cut number 1. Go.
Hello, everyone. It's Sylvester Stallone here. As you know, Rambo has been a huge part of my life, my career. But there's more to the story. There's the prequel, the beginning, and that's what's coming your way. I will serve as executive producer on this origin story. I couldn't be more excited, and the action is coming your way. Thank you very much. See you in the theaters.
See, he really is Rocky because the guy never stops working. It's amazing. Tulsa King is an awesome series that I've been watching. And what he did with the Rocky franchise as far as the Creed films, that was genius. The last one he wasn't involved in, and that profoundly sucked. But the first 2 were amazing. And Michael B. Jordan now is a huge star because of those films. So the casting was perfect, as well as being Apollo Creed's son. But Rambo, kind of, I'm not saying forgotten in the Stallone whole arc, but everybody always thinks Rocky first, right? And those films have made more than $800 million. And we're talking like 80s money for the most part. So whatever that's worth today, billions of dollars. So why not do a prequel? Makes sense. I'll go see it because Stallone is excellent at extending the story or going back, in this case, in the story of John Rambo. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. Thank you so much for listening to Concha at Night. We're back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time here on WABC and around the country, around the world. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye. Kiss me.
Give us go. Playing on the radio. It goes. Everybody's gonna lose their feet. Everybody's gonna leave their
The Tunnel to
to Towers Foundation honors the sacrifices of America's heroes. Heroes like U.S. Army Specialist Andy Keith Kingsley. Andy was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. He received various awards and decorations, including a Purple Heart. While deployed, Andy was catastrophically injured in combat. Andy and his family received a mortgage-free smart home from Tunnel to Towers. But many more heroes like Andy need your support. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.